Hello, everyone. Welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. We've got the return of Dracula discard for you today. This deck has been absolutely killing it. As always, we've got three brand new decks, a new meta deck, a look at Hercules and whether you should buy it, and so much more. Before we go any further, though, I'd like to invite you to hit sub, hit like, hit comment, and if you're willing, ring that notification bell. We have just hit, thank you to everyone, 8,000 subscribers. That means we're giving away 5 more season passes. We'll set that up before the end of the week, but we are giving away 5 more season passes right here on the channel as a thank you. You can either, as you win, you can choose between either getting Scar or saving and getting who the hell's the season pass card next season? Black Swan. That's why I didn't remember. Black Swan is the most useless character. Super cool card, but like the most like small time character for them to do a season pass card with. What are you gonna do? But as a thank you, we will be giving away 5 more season passes. If you would like to be eligible, please hit that sub button. We are going to continue to bring you 3 brand new decks every weekday. We also do videos on Sundays. We have the podcast with Marvel Snap's biggest personalities on Saturday. So check it out. You won't be sad you did, I promise. In addition, we keep this giveaway sheet that has every active giveaway in all of Marvel Snap. All you have to do is find it in the description to this video. In that, you can find a bunch of great free stuff from a bunch of really great creators. We also have a Patreon if anyone's interested. The Patreon has its own exclusive giveaways, it has its own exclusive content, its own videos, podcasts, so on. We have a bunch of different tiers of support. We have the $1 a month, which is like one of our members did the math, which is less than a cent a video, something silly like that. For the show love tier, it's a really great deal, just shows some appreciation. Then we have the peace tier, that's our $5 tier. It gives you early access to videos. I post the videos as soon as I'm done making them. Content suggestions, complete post archive, podcast guest questions, deck doctor, and priority answers. If you have any questions for Den or Min or guests on the podcast this week, check that out. Our $10 tier is the Peace and Love tier. You get a once a month exclusive monthly podcast. The one from last month is up. Roy and I reviewed every single card from the year 2023. You get exclusive content, both written and video. I'm trying to post like a video a day. That's just like a quick 2-minute thought video a day over there. An exclusive monthly giveaway, mailbag question and answer, end of the day, end of daily video shoutouts, priority questions for podcast guests, and all the previous tiers. So if you're interested, please check out the Patreon, patreon.com/snapjudgments. Our outline for the day, we're going to begin with questions of the day. Then we're going to look at ZT4's deck. This is a deck that won About Time Joey's, missed the slash on that Twitter, About Time Joey's tournament. This deck or variations of it has won 3 tournaments in ZT4's hands at this point. We've got our last chance review of Hercules. Then we've got a Keen Koala deck. This also features Hercules and has won 2 Infinity tickets. We've got an update from yesterday's deck, the Nate Biz deck, which is just killing it for me. Like, it still feels completely overpowered as I'm playing it. Then we're going to do Meta Monday, which is Torikun Thanos. That's the Thanos build you're seeing everywhere. We are going to look at the deck, how to play it, and how I think the best ways to beat it are. You can find Torikun, the current number 3 ranked player in all of Marvel Snap, on twitter.com/TorikunSnap. We'll end with shop and shoutouts as we always do. Our questions of the day. Jason Jones asks if I liked Hip before the game, as he loves Teen Titans Go. I did not. I like Teen Titans Go. I thought it was really clever. I thought the art was good, but I didn't actually ever look up who made the art. I didn't even really like the hips when I first started playing the game. I've told this in passing before, but one day I was letting my son pick which variants I used, and he kept picking the Dan hips. So I looked up Dan hip, realized it did Teen Titans Go, which my son also loves, and from that day on, like because it made him so happy, I've really started to enjoy Dan hip art. I always liked it, but it really made me love it because it was such a nice little bonding moment. Miller is stuck in the 90s, and my best advice for people stuck in the 90s, every day I get someone who's like, I got 97, then 94, then 92. You're trying to get infinite instead of trying to win games of Marvel. I've seen people do it. I've played with people who do it. My friend Roy does it. He's the co-host of the actual podcast. Um, when you get high enough, when you get into the 90s, you start trying to get to infinite instead of trying to win the games in front of you. Don't try and win infinite. Try and play a clean game. And then if you win that clean game, you win or you lose that clean game. stop, breathe, and then you play another clean game. And eventually, before you know it, you'll be infinite. It's not really about getting through the 90s. You're doing something different when you get to the 90s than you did in the 80s and 70s. Because the 80s aren't that different from the 90s. If you get to the 90s, you can just play the game in front of you as cleanly as you can. Win or lose, stop, breathe, play the next game cleanly in front of you. If you hit infinite, awesome. Do your best to pay no attention. Steve Wilkins wants to know if spotlights will show up in the shop. They said there'd be a way to get them eventually. I would be shocked if that was just the shop. I would not be surprised if they were eventually ultimate variants, the like what is it, 5,000-6,000 tokens. I refuse to buy them, so I don't know. But wouldn't be shocked if they showed up as those eventually. But no, I don't think they're ever really going to be in the shop. Nor has ever any old bundle or since global release. So if you want them, grab them while they're. It's really annoying that the main aspect of their business model appears to be FOMO. But that's where we are right now with Marvel Snap. So be it. If you'd like to have your questions read out in tomorrow's video, leave one in the comments. As always, priority answers go to Patreons. All right. So this is ZD4's deck. It won the ATJ tournament. It's again won other tournaments. Nico is apparently what made this deck really sing. This is our classic Dracula discard, the deck that we all thought was dead since America Chavez. I've been pulling Swarm from this left and right and had decent success. Look, I'm nowhere close to winning tournaments with it, and this one is. So it's clearly a better build. And if you're playing a tournament Marvel Snap right now, you know what you're facing, an absolute ton of Thanos. So this is clearly a capable deck of beating top powerful decks. We understand how it does so, right? If you think they're going to blob and you can't deal with their blob, if they're going to get Kara out, you're going to have to run sometimes. But you can just compete in other lanes. Your power is relatively flexible, right? They don't have anything else that really goes above discard if discard can get its power in the non-blob lanes. If you're in the non-blob lanes, they get reasonably big, but you get completely huge, even in the lane that just has Dakin and Modok. That's 16 right there. If you can get like a Mobius or a Colleen in there, we're just at like 24, 25, 26 power. That's usually more than enough. Dracula's actually buffed with Nico here because the +2 on Dracula means that it's going to start as a 4/3, etc. Sif is just good power. Blade is just good power. Swarm for 0 is amazing power, right? And Colleen is good power for her cause. This is just a bunch of ahead of rate cards. And Silver Samurai occasionally like wins you a game. If you're facing non-Thanos blobs, you're going to be dealing with things like Taskmaster, and Silver Samurai beats the crap out of those. If you are facing those non-Thanos blobs and you can get rid of Taskmaster, do yourself a favor and compete very heavily for 2 lanes, not all 3. If you're really competing well for those 2 lanes, you should be completely fine in beating those decks. All right, you need Modok. You can't replace Modok at all. Nico can be Miek tomorrow. I'm not going to try and figure out another one because Miek comes out tomorrow. That's the best replacement. If you must, Nebula or Iceman. Silver Samurai can be Hellcow. I think that's worse. I think Silver Samurai, the most expensive card in the deck, is still really, really good in discard because there's just enough cheap discard stuff that wins the game. If you're playing those Tribunal decks, right, they'll beat the crap out of this, except if they don't have Iron Man, they lose their big power spike, right? And if you can take that big power spike away from them, you can often win that matchup. Okay, so 60% win rate and tournament win. Again, this has actually won 3 tournaments. I spoke to JD McDonald about it, and he was like, here's the different tournaments this has won. So this deck is nuts. Turn 1 is usually a pass, but with Nico, you can blow up a Swarm, even if you haven't discarded. Or you can blow up Colleen if Swarm is in hand to draw 2 in the right situation. You can also make a copy of Mobius. Mobius is extremely strong. If you've got Modok in hand, especially, double Mobius is a very, very strong play that helps win games. And +2 is just a good stat line on your. Turn 2 is Mobius over Colleen, again, barring Nico shenanigans. Turn 3, Dakin is better than Colleen +1, usually, is better than Sif. Sometimes that Colleen +1 is good if you know that you want to get um, these swarms out of your hand, and that'll allow you to do so. Turn 4, Dracula is generally better than Silver Samurai, is generally better than Dakin plus the Blade. You really, really, really want to get Dracula out before you Silver Samurai. He is, unless Mobius is in hand, the lowest power card. You don't want to discard either of those with Silver Samurai. Turn 5, Shang or Dracula, plus Swarms, or Modok if you don't have Dracula in hand. If you don't have Dracula in hand, then Modok is perfectly fine, right? Because you're going to have to play Apocalypse on the last turn. So turn 6 is Modoc if you've gotten all the swarms out and if Dracula's in play, or Apocalypse if you did not. And then you win. This deck is just really strong. Welcome back to the meta, discard, and I bet you this is better with Miek. Although I don't want Nico to be the cut, I'm trying to figure out what else it could be. All right, let's take a quick variant look here. We've got um Blade Hip, Swarm Hip, Dokken Hip, Sif, Dracula, and Apocalypse, so 6 hips, good number. We've also got a couple baby variants. We got the Modoc, the Morbius, and the Shang baby variants, because why the hell not? Midnight Suns for Nico, Noir for Colleen, and then the only Silver Samurai I have that's worth having. It's a pretty cool variant. Big. All right, all good. Let's keep it going. Hercules. Hercules is a series 5, 6,000 tokens. A lot of people didn't buy him, but everyone expected him to be bad. I am here to tell you Hercules is a good card. He's a good card that I think is going to get buffed to a better card. I still don't think you should get him because we can't know that Hercules is going to get buffed. I think he will, but there's no guarantee, and I can't recommend you buy something without that guarantee. And he does need that buff, even though he's a good card, right? You don't buy good cards in Snap for 6,000 tokens or Spotlight caches unless they're with other things you need. If you need Werewolf, I can see going for Hercules. If you have the next couple weeks worth of stuff. But I think Hercules is just like kind of a regular good card. He makes regular move decks able to compete. Do they win? Not always, but they win more than they did before Hercules came out. Same thing for Phoenix decks. Do they win? Not always, but they win more than they did before Hercules came out, right? And I think that's a good place for Hercules to be. He's a good card that helps decks that don't win enough win more. Do they win enough more to put them at Zap in the meta? Nope, he's still overcosted. But if that were taken care of, he would be one of the better cards in the game. Oh, that's where we are. Like, I think if he were a 3/6, he's one of the best cards in Snap. If he's a 3/5, he's still just very good. So let's see if that change actually happens or if they keep him. All right, our next. Oh, sorry. So again, I want to be clear before we go on. Don't buy Hercules right now. Like, right, unless you're like flush with resources and we're just not buying him because PU. Like, just grab him. Just don't grab him. He's not that good, but he is good and he is severely underrated and he's a lot better than people who don't like him make him sound. All right, Conquest Keen Quake. This is our friend Keen Koala's deck. Keen Koala is again the player who hits Infinite with Quake every season, even before the buff. Keen went and got 2 Infinite tickets with this. This is a Conquest specific deck. I try and say that where that's possible, but this does a really, really great job in Conquest. Hercules' main job here is to say, my Storm Lane is one, you can't try and move crap in there. You can't throw a Silk or a Vision or a, well, I guess you can throw a Jeff, but you can't throw a Silk or a Vision or move a Jeff into there. Hercules is going to whip that out of there, and then you win that. You can also go the so I would probably have Ms. Marvel here, right? But you can also go the Storm play, and then um if you can keep Prio on 4 without playing in that Storm lane, you can arrow out the card that went into the Storm lane on the opponent's side, because that'll be the last card they revealed on turn 4, and you can win the lane that way, which is pretty damn nice because then your Quake and Jeff and such can go in there. It's a nice way to win games of Snap. Um, you also have the Storm for Legion 5 play, which remains completely bonkers. You have the Storm and then flip the Flooded to somewhere else so you can win it play. And Killmonger is here in the name of Thanos. Because if you can get that Killmonger out early, Thanos gets very, very sad very, very quickly. All right, so Hercules can be Ms. Marvel or Captain Marvel. I like Ms. Marvel best in that spot, but Ian is insistent that Hercules is great here. And hey, look, I didn't get 2 Infinity tickets with it. You need Jeff or Silk. The other can be Medusa. Legion is huge here, but you can try Vision as necessary. Cool. All right. So this one, 2 Infinity tickets. We covered this deck last Wednesday. Sorry, a different version of a Quake deck from Keen last Wednesday. That one is better on ladder. This one's better for Conquest. Turn 1 pass. Turn 2 Craven over Jeff equals Silk. Better than Maximus. Better than Quake. You don't really want Maximus or Quake here. You will if you must, but you really don't want to. Turn 3, Storm, Killmonger, or turn 2. I will, again, if I have priority going into turn 3, I will fairly often just drop a Killmonger. Again, especially against Thanos, because their Kyra doesn't usually come out. They want to get out their Lockjaw. I get out the Killmonger. I can clear out a bunch of stones and just pretty happy. Turn 4, Herc on Storm, or just play Storm. Your job is to get Prio here. Turn 5, If you stormed, try a Legion. If not, Arrow, the opposing card out of Storm's Lane. And then turn 6 is Magneto or Shanga 2. And then you win. Cool. There we go. Quick variant look. I have more hips than I threw in this deck. I have a hip for Legion and Magneto, but the Jim Lee Storm needed the Jim Lee Magneto to be friends with. And this deck rocks and Legion rocks, and I figured Hercules would enjoy it. Don't ask. I'm losing my mind, apparently. We do have 2 hips in the deck, even without the other 2 we could have, Jeff and Killmonger. We have Craven and Silk, which are friends. This is my favorite Quake, and for now, my favorite Maximus, and for now, my favorite Arrow. There is a hip coming for Arrow and a really great Maximus variant coming soon. I hope that we get release dates for them soon. I also threw my Art Adam Shang-Chi in here. It's my favorite genre. So yesterday I reviewed this Nate Biz Loki deck. It's on the next slide. Nate Biz updated. He commented on the video, and we're going to look at the update. Again, I have been crushing with this deck. If you want to know how to play it, please, please, please check out yesterday's video. I love this deck. I think this is one of the best decks in Marvel Snap, and a lot of people should play it, and I think they will do very well with it. All right, this is the deck from yesterday. Basically, it is the Revis Serra shell combined with a Loki shell, and that works real well. Snow Guard gives you the location control that Legion would in the original Revis shell. You lose a little bit of power, but Loki more than makes up for that most of the time. If you've got the Zabu Sarah thing going, you don't really usually Loki. You're trying to win off the Shang, Ms. Marvel, Enchantress. It's really easy to throw priority right now with Ms. Marvel, where it was not earlier, largely because excuse me. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust my light. It's being very difficult. Oop, there it goes. Okay. So it is really difficult, largely because damn it, the light drive me crazy. It's really easy to throw priority right now because Ms. Marvel, you have to have 2 cards in the lane right now, right? So you just don't keep 2 cards in the lane, and then you can throw priority, and your Shang and Enchantress end up overpowered. Gladiator is ridiculously dangerous. I want to cut Gladiator. He's here for like literally one reason for me right now. I like to Gladiator on that lockjaw lane because that's where a big thing is going to come up anyway. So if a big thing's going to come up anyway, I can either clog them when they're not ready, or I can just get my Shanger Enchantress bait right there, right set up to steal that lane. Either way is fine. And if you get lucky and get their blob and you have the Shadow King, then you win. But in the newer version, that Shadow King is gone, replaced with Valkyrie. That's a more expensive way to do a similar thing, but Valkyrie has more utility for more things, right? Valkyrie handles enough different cards that Shadow King doesn't, that it's still really strong because there's a lot of stuff like Scar in the meta, a lot of stuff like Magneto in the meta that you just want to go over the top. People are trying to use these 1 or 2 big cards to just win that lane, and you drop Valkyrie there and just say no, but thank you for trying. It's a really good play, right? It's not a crazy play. The other change is Nico has replaced Mirage in this deck. That I love. So I'm not 1,000% sold on the Valkyrie over Shadow King thing. I think it's a good change, but I can see it going either way. Nico saying, okay, I've got double Zabu is nuts, right? Nico saying +2 to one of my cards can win a game. I think there's enough upside to Nico. Hell, Nico blowing up Snowguard so I can draw 2 and get more of my stuff is phenomenal. So I think that Nico is an absolutely stellar change here, especially in the current meta. The extra location change is really good. I like that more than Mirage. I think that her utility is better than Mirage. Everything else here is relatively similar. I think this is one of the 3-5 best decks in Marvel Snap. I think this might be the best deck in Marvel Snap, and I really, really, really wish people would play it, including some top players, because I think they would fly up the infinite ladder. I'm going to send this to Sizer and be like, Sizer, test it. So we'll find out for sure that way. But when I play this, I feel completely busted and overpowered unless RNG doesn't go my way. And sometimes RNG doesn't, right? Like I full hand Loki'd against a destroy deck, and I managed to like not get crap, right? I got all the like destroy triggers and then the payoffs, and like, is that likely? No, but it happens sometimes. You just lose. It's a Marvel Snap. You lose some games, right? But almost every game, this has felt completely insane. It's amazing how good Coulson is. I'd stopped playing Coulson because I was playing the bounce Lokis, and Coulson's phenomenal in decks. All right, our final deck of the day is Torikun Thanos. This is the deck that Torikun has climbed to the top 3 with. It's just crazy strong. It basically abuses the crap out of Blob and a bunch of high power cards and uses Leech to protect him. That's kind of the gist here. There's a lot of play patterns where you go like Wave into Magneto, into Double Dino, into Scar and Shang-Chi, or you can just go Lockjaw and then cheat out a bunch of stuff and get a really cheap Scar, sometimes a free Scar, which feels just broken and unfair. If you leech the opponent, there's like nothing they can do. This puts more power on the board. It's really good. It beats most classic Loki because classic Loki is trying to say, I do your big cards better than you do. But your blob is bigger than theirs because you have the Infinity Stones and keep more stuff in your deck, and you have Lockjaw, and they're not getting anything great out of Lockjaw, and you are. So at the end of the day, this is like the best matchup into Loki that we've had outside of that last Loki deck from the previous slide. All right, so Jeff can be Psylocke or Nightcrawler without losing too much. Hera can be Armor. You are losing a lot here. Shang is all over the place, so that's important. This needs Blob and Thanos and Scar for the best versions. Scar as a like 211 is just part of the way this deck is so nuts. I told you Scar would be meta. Everyone was like, Scar's bad after the first 3 days. Like he's never gonna be bad as he was the first 3 days. He's A tier season pass card, just not an S tier. He's as good as Nebula and Hitmonkey, and that's fantastic. Okay. So this is the number 3 ranked deck and the Scourge of the meta. Turn 1 and 2, you draw. You can always drop Jeff on turn 2. Time Stone to get locked out early is usually really good if you can do it. Turn 3, Lockjaw and Snap. Wave is more or less equal to Time Stone here. I like Wave a little better, but Wave is Wave lets them do big things, so sometimes that's better. Is generally better than Kyra, unless they're playing something heavy duty that you know you need Kyra for immediately. Turn 4 is play into Lockjaw, or Lockjaw into 1, and then you can also drop a big based on Time Stone Wave. If you're not doing that, you're doing your other turn 3 stuff. That is a big miss. You really, really, really want to get that stuff going by turn 4. Turn 5 is Scar and a Stone in Jaw. Because if you get an early Devil Dino or you get Wave into Magneto or whatever, Scar is now 4, which means you turn 5, you have enough for Scar and a Stone into Jaw. You can also drop a Devil Dino, Vision, or Leech. I think Leech is the worst of these, generally speaking. But Leech gets a lot of retreats, right? So Leech is like can be very good, but you better be enough ahead to afford to play the 5/3, right? Because there's times you can play Leech, and if they are like dumping or going wide, or they have like an infinite or whatever, if they guess your blob lane, right? There's a lot of 50/50s with this deck. So turn 6, Blob is better than a 2-cost Scar. Plus Shang is better than a Stone and Dino or Vision. It's generally better than Magneto. Magneto is to play out early or pop out of Lockjaw mostly. Pops out of Lockjaw and fills a lane. You're pretty damn cool. That's how you play the deck. It's the best deck in the game right now, like bar none. That's it. All right, playing against it. The Loki that we talked about before is the only Loki I know of that has a really great matchup here. Ongoing Tribunal stuff is really, really great if you can avoid getting leeched. Some versions run leech, some don't. Leech is very rarely a priority. If you can sort of disguise what you're doing in any way, shape, or form, then Ongoing Tribunal stuff is great. Your own leech is really good. If you can get your leech enough in your leech hawk, you beat the crap out of this deck. If you don't see your leech, though, you're in trouble. That's part of why Lad is important. And I would strongly consider Jubilee in those decks also, because you really want to get leech out. If you can leech him, you can beat him. If you can't leech him, you're going to have a hard game. If you can toss Prio, Shadow King and Valkyrie are going to like rock the face off this deck. And you can, if you're winning Prio, Cosmo is phenomenal because if you can figure out where they're going to blob, you can just say no, thank you. I'm pretty sure Blob is going to lose some base power in the next OTA. But since Shadow King and Valkyrie are good, different versions of Cerebro beat the crap out of this deck. Honestly, strangely, one of your big problems is the Soul Stone, so you need to like wait for where Luke Cage is and then Soul Stone. And then your other problem is you really want to you have to be careful with your magic for Reality Stone. But if you can dodge those bullets, you're pretty damn good into that matchup. And then Goose and Cosmo are just like super helpful for this matchup. And I think and this is theory. Like the last one is theory. I've seen all the others be really good against the deck. Destroy can go over the top, like classic pure Destroy can just go over the top, especially if you get your Killmonger out early and you can clear a bunch of their stones, make your death cheap. That's a really, really strong matchup and strong play into this. Um, The other thing, I think theoretically, Daredevil should be good here. This is the best deck. You're not going to have a super duper high win rate. I don't think anything beats on this, but these are the key cards and key strategies that you can look at to beat this deck. Cool. Lockdown has an okay matchup, but nothing special into this, and that's kind of it. Like this beats the crap out of Evo. It's just a good strong deck. Okay, this is one last look at the deck. Again, this is the best deck at Marvel Snap right now. We'll see if it is after Thursday's OT. My shot for today kind of sucked. I don't hate this Dokken. But I have the hip. I had the hip for Typhoid. I have the hip for Nebula. I have Jim Lee's Rogue, which looks like this, but is kind of just better. And I have Phoenix and a Colossus that looks an awful lot like this, and I don't know why it isn't this one, but I have a Colossus that I feel looks just like this. Then we've got Venomized Dagger. I don't really like Venomized variants. I have two great Lokis, the one they gave us for the season pass and the Rainbow one. If you want to rewind, they're in the when we talked about the Loki decks, which leaves Death. I actually really like this Death. This was going to be my favorite Death, but I have three Deaths I like better because as the game evolved, um, so did the Deaths available. I bought the big bundle Death over the summer, the Mech Death. I think it's great. I don't know why. It feels very different. I usually don't like mech stuff, but I think this one's really cool. We also have Death. I spent a lot of resources, but this Death has a gold background, and I love it. And then we have the most recent Death I got. I just randomly pulled this one, the bottom right one with the floaty skulls. And I think that one's about as good as the first form variant. I think they're at least relatively close to each other, right? So I got two Deaths I like better, and then one that I like as much. So sorry, first form variant, you're not for me. Right. Certain tiers of Patreon support come with on-air thanks. Let's do that quickly, and then we'll get to the last slide. So we got models, pretty chill, members of our Discord. Pathor Newman, wonderful YouTuber. Ink, No Flex, wonderful member of our Discord. Mandatory Burnout, wonderful member of our Discord. Matt Conduit 23, good dog gamer, fantastic deck builder, member of our Discord. Heredix Lee, Mikey Hijinks, DG Winfield, Rob Silverman, Matt H, Robert Rivern, the King of Hella, Abigail Gieslin, Direwolf, Ocularis, Spike Jones, my former student, who I'll be having lunch with, as many of you watch this, Louis Antonis, JD McDonaldino, top 100 Marvel Snap player, who's on Twitch, by the way, and Min, the homie Min, who's Rito in disguise over on Twitch. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate all of your support, especially those of you who made it to the very end. You gotta hit that sub button, and if you're interested, obviously no pressure. You will miss nothing. You just get extra stuff from the Patreon. Hopefully that's enough to entice some of you. If not, hey, no hard feelings. See you tomorrow for a look at Miak. Peace.